Good morning, everybody. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Oh, good. Oh, so happy to be here. Let's meditate. So take your attention inside, and we'll go all the way to the tip of the tailbone today. Really, the energy center is in the middle, deep, deep, deep in our body. It's not superficial. You want to breathe right into it and make sure that you're not holding anywhere in your pelvis or your belly or your solar plexus. Those are the three places we tend to hold ourselves. So you want to deeply relax as your breath passes those places on the way down to the tailbone. So you're first feeling into that flow as you breathe down. And secondly, feeling for the energy center itself. And then once you're there, you can synchronize your breath in some way with the cerebrospinal pulse, which you can feel by feeling for the subtle motion of the tailbone going back and forward. And how you synchronize your breath with that is up to you. And it's fine whether you feel it or not. It will come present to you in its own time. It's huge that you are making the effort to be here and do it. When you're ready, move your attention to the space 2 fingers below the belly button, deep inside your body. And breathe into that center. Feeling that same synchronicity with the movement of the tip of the tailbone. So you want to try to tune into the energy moving upward between the two energy centers. And when you're ready, feel into the solar plexus, just below the breastbone, but deep in the body, closer to the back than the front. And your body may sway with the breathing as you synchronize with those energy centers. Allow that to happen. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. But the message is whatever your body does as you begin to open these centers, allow it to happen. When you're ready, allow your energy to travel upward to the heart center. Breathe into that. Again, closer to the back than the front. When you're ready, your attention will naturally move up to the throat energy center. And when you're ready, take your attention up to your third eye. Then there's a natural opening at the top of the head with a big flower. Begin to experience yourself as an energetic being. So that's the focus of your attention. And just for a minute, you can allow the body to disappear. And experience yourself as pure energy. When you're ready, open your eyes, holding to the experience that you're having inside. And we'll start our program. We welcome any questions. We're happy to talk to you. How's it going? Well, Rebecca's been, oh, please, please. No, no, really want to hear it.
I was just going to say, I feel really lucky to be here and be warm, relatively warm.
Yes, we're so lucky to be warm, have electricity, and, be able to be online and relatively unscathed so far from the weather.
So far. Yeah. But it
Yeah.
blizzard yesterday. What a trip. It reminds us how powerful
And
nature
fragile.
is and how fragile we are. Yeah, in it. Yep.
Yeah. I know some friends of ours had a tree fall on their two-story house and there's snow in their living room.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and we don't get to choose.
Oh,
These
no.
things just happen. And it
Yep.
doesn't matter how heavily insured you are, it's still extremely disruptive.
Something something major to deal with, especially if we have pretty comfortable lives normally.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Really grateful to be here with you guys.
Yes. Yeah. And to have the luxury to do inner work, the quiet and calm, relative calm.
Mhm.
There are always things happening, but to really be able to engage our inner in a deeper and deeper way and become more connected to that resource that we were born with, born from, that it's our birthright to be in alignment with, that is really not separate from us at all, never has been and never will be, but it's our perception that it's separate that keeps us from unraveling all the matrix of belief that we've collected throughout our many, many lives. What a wonderful opportunity we have to do that. So, along that vein, we'll share with you that Rebecca's been doing a kind of cleanse since Tuesday, eating mostly vegetables, some protein, and pretty much limiting calories and increasing water, a lot of fiber products and colon cleanse products because it's um, at our suggestion it's a way to detox not only the physical but to get some of the obstructions from the the chemistry that we've accumulated of toxins when we give the body a chance to sort of rest and detox. And fortunately, the external world is cooperating. When that happens, then there's a greater sensitivity, which means there's a greater sensitivity to emotions, so we can get really crabby, greater sensitivity to our environment, smells, sounds, hot, cold, but all that's just an indication that our inner sensitivity is also detoxing. And so these chakras and channels become more and more available because the things obstructing our awareness are starting to fall away. So it's one of the ways that we can, and it's something to do with, you know, the monitoring of a health professional, and really monitor a lot of self-monitoring, because we're all at an age where, you know, if it doesn't feel helpful, it's good not to do it. And as long as it feels like it's a good thing, then it's okay. And so, you know, there are minor symptoms like, you know, very transient nausea as things leave. But the overall feeling of doing a huge dump is really, that's the general underlying feeling that's happening, that the body's just dumping. The cells themselves are dumping whatever it is that's obstructing flow. And that ideally creates more access to our own vitality. And there are times when it's appropriate to do this, and definitely times when it's not. It's nothing to do if we already feel challenged. And we've seen a lot of people actually injured by trying to do detox programs that, first of all, don't involve the colon first. Because if your colon is not really available and you're not drinking a lot of water to go through your kidneys, then things can just rearrange in your system. Because the body always puts toxins in the best place that the body can, where they do the least damage. And if we do a detox and we don't pay attention to keeping the organs of detox really clean, you know, cooperating with us, then we can just rearrange the furniture and it on the inside, and it's not for the better very often. So we've seen people really go down from detox. So it's not a small thing to do to your body, and requires some consciousness. So we're very cautiously recommending it. And we're using some products to do a colon cleanse as part of it, so that things really have an exit route. Not what we expected to talk about today, but or to do, you know, it wasn't planned. It's just very strong message on Tuesday. Today you started detox. So how can we serve this morning? What do you need? So we keep a large jar of water, usually hot, close by, because we need to keep drinking it. Chinese medicine says that if you drink anything cold, ice, water, which, you know, most American restaurants serve as a matter of course, that your body has to heat that water before it can be utilized. It has to heat any food that's cold, literally cook it on the inside. And as we age, that digestive process, that fire that warms things up, can get a little bit damaged. And so it's best to drink hot things, especially in the winter, but also in the summer, because what happens when you drink ice in the summer is that it takes a lot of energy for your body to warm the digestive system, and you end up making yourself hotter because it's like um, running the stove really hot to warm things up, and then it takes it a long time to cool down. Anyway, what I know about Chinese medicine, which is about this much. Most of my education has come from seeing Chinese doctors and studying Qigong. How may we serve? Yes.
I was wondering, speaking of Chinese stuff, if the Chinese astrological calendar works its way into your calculations at all.
It does not, which doesn't mean that I don't think it's valuable. It's just that learning one system well is turning out to be challenging. And so, there are three possible systems to learn. And for me, the order in which I will go is Vedic and then Western, because that's what most people around me are familiar with. But I have great respect for Chinese astrology, and know people who have had readings from competent Chinese astrologers that have been very, very helpful and really right on. So I'm not at all questioning that it's a valid system. So that's my answer. I know nothing about it except what I just said.
Like
And
what?
yeah, well, these ancient cultures really had people who were wise. They had wise, probably mostly men, because the culture was dominated by, men, and women had their job taking care of the family, including the man and the children, and probably mostly agriculture. And but these practices came into being, at least according to the Vedas, during the Sat Yuga, which is when people could hear things once and know them. And so the discovery of astrology, if you believe this is an ancient wisdom tradition, the discovery was made by people a lot more intelligent than we are at this time. And with, time to and visibility in India, in flat plains with a lot of darkness, no electricity, so they could actually look at the stars and correlate the movement of the stars with their experience and the people around them. And they were able to pass on this tradition in an unbroken way. And of course, because people are not as smart as they were when it was evolved, we can't just hear it once and know it. And we don't have the visibility of the stars in most places to be able to actually correlate for ourselves. It becomes more of an intellectual exercise than an experiential practice. Although the subtle energies are available as you get a deeper understanding of what's going on. So they were like able to see the movement of the planet Mars in the sky through certain constellations and correlate how that movement and their feeling relate, how they were related and what experiences they attracted. And then, you know, there have been centuries and centuries of people refining that information. Although it turns out that the information, you know, the basic information from the text is really critical. And so the books that come out now are sort of riffs on that. You know, how people who have 30, 40 years of experience have come to understand the ancient texts in their observation of their own practice. So it's like any other spiritual practice. It takes a long time. Unless you're really lucky and, you know, just have the talent, which some people do. What else? Yes.
Speak about the value uh, of, of of moving or dynamic meditation.
Oh. So Andrew's asking about the value of moving or dynamic meditation. Well, the first thing we'll say is that the human body is a dynamic event. And a lot of the obstructions in people's bodies have to do with not moving enough. And so the capacity to dance and follow waves of energy in your body, unless it's cultivated through movement, can limit a human being's access to the deeper energetic currents, which are sort of like tides in the body. And so to, at a certain point in one's practice, to increase the awareness of those channels, which are already there in all of us. It's not like we create them by putting our attention on them. They are already there. It is the obstruction of the blockage that's in our system and the blockage from our lack of motion. Our joints start to freeze. And, you know, the idea of moving with flexibility gets more and more difficult as we age. And so dynamic meditation can be, which is as simple as dancing to music while you're really paying attention inside. It can be a way to integrate our physical and spiritual awareness by unlocking the places where we can't really move well, just by gentle, you know, this is kind of a yin type of thing for people our age. So we have to gently move the areas that feel stuck. Like very slowly break down the stuckness, open our joints, and begin to move with flow. And the way you know that you're in touch is your body gets kind of rubber. You know, it returns to that childhood. You know, how a kid will hold their feet up in the air, and, you know, it's like we want to return to that kind of innocent freedom in our body as much as we can. And in our attempts to do that, even though our body can't, after a certain age, actually do all of that as much as we could when we were younger, it's worth every ounce of attention. It's really our attention, because if we try to do too much, we'll injure ourselves. And the downside of active meditation is that you can injure yourself meditating by concentrating on the flow in your body and pushing too hard to make something release, or so you have to have conscious awareness that whatever part of your body you're working on, Chinese medicine again has done this forever with their shaking. If you've had any exposure to qigong and tai chi, they often have a shaking practice where you just stand and you shake your body and let all the toxins go out of the cells. And so that is a form of dynamic meditation, that shaking. And so it's a stage that can increase our physical capacity for alignment by, allowing our bodies to move with the energy itself as there's kind of a wave that goes up the spine as we synchronize our energetic awareness with the breath. And we find that there are all kinds of ways that the channels, become accessible as we move. And for Rebecca, this is a pretty new practice. So, there's not a ton of experience behind it, but it's reaping huge benefits very quickly. And we're not quite ready to share the dynamic meditations that we're doing because we don't feel competent. But we will at least share how you can get to them yourself at some point in the not too distant future. But for now, the jury's a little bit out. But there's a lot of enthusiasm, as always happens when Rebecca meets something new. So you guys have probably known me long enough to have witnessed that several times. And sometimes if it's the wrong time for us, the enemy of good is better, which means that things are doing very well. And then if you upset the apple cart by introducing something new at the wrong time, that's when good is the enemy of better, or better is the enemy of good. That said it backwards. It's easy for us to get the wires crossed this morning. That was a really good question. So we wanted to share that. We just haven't felt ready to speak about it yet. How may we serve further? And, you know, we'll say again, as we've said all along, that doing any of these practices is really about being so steeped in our non-dual awareness, which is another way of saying our unseparateness from the divine, in our dedication to experiencing ourselves as one. We're preparing for death. And, you know, we all know we have little deaths along the way that teach us enormously about how to be with change. And as we welcome those changes as opportunities to that life has brought us to be ever more refined in our awareness of using change to increase our sense of oneness by accepting life and not getting so tangled up in fighting the changes. I mean, there's a difference between putting energy into promoting our health and resisting the changes that aging brings. And the key word here is flow. You know, we always want to be paying attention to what is bringing in the most flow in whatever we're responding to. You know, some obstruction may happen in our life that we just can't get around. And so we just accept it and try not to damage our life with our reaction to whatever happens that we are resisting. And that mostly means self-acceptance, regardless of what the external the external input is telling us. Because it is our self-rejection that builds the obstructions that we end up later having to detox. So we don't talk about it much, but very often meditation is about getting to self-love. And, you know, love is such an overused word. We can use acceptance here, that we stop judging ourselves. Everybody makes mistakes. So we do the best we can to repair what we can, and then we drop it. We don't need to punish ourselves. Punishment doesn't work. It just makes us feel bad. Guilt is completely useless. And so these are the things that we're trying to shake off also in beginning to move more. It's to allow these patterns that are deeply ingrained in ourselves to release. And so we consciously, everything that's not mine, we just dump. And we can use physical movement as part of that when it's appropriate to our bodies. And it's amazing how moving first just for its own sake, and then moving in flow, and then allowing that to be sensual can change our whole relationship to our bodies. So there's different layers to it. And all of that has to do with self-acceptance. Because in self-acceptance, we go from the small s self to the big S self. But we can't get to the big S self until we truly accept the small s self. And the truth is, as far as we know, none of us volunteered for this experience. I mean, maybe we did, but doesn't exactly feel like it. So whatever constellation of events we experience, all of this is about making the best that we can out of the situation we have been handed. And conscious living, conscious awareness, and merging with that. And it's not really like we're merging with anything different from who we are. We are becoming, allowing ourselves to become one with our source, which is inside us. It's not outside anywhere. And nobody can give it to us, and nobody can take it away from us. We each have the responsibility of cultivating our awareness of it with whatever tools we have. And our job is to give you all the tools we can and all the information we can to make your experience of oneness as close as possible every time we meet. We are not interested in any power except the power over ourself, to be conscious awareness and a demonstration of that. And that's an forever evolving process. There is no goal, and there is no reaching a goal where that stops for any of us. That's our current experience. There are certainly historical figures who have reached that. And on our planet, the Dalai Lama is somebody who, he's extremely special and refined. And it's interesting, Lama Wandu, who we worked with for many years, didn't speak English, but he taught hundreds of people. And we found his death a very easy to participate in experience. And we felt the expansion of him into completely different realms of experience. And that's as far as Rebecca's humanity would allow her to experience at this point. So I can't really tell you anything about those worlds except it's beautiful and expansive and, rainbow light. So it is possible to have that happen for ourselves. Any human being can do it. It just takes work. And there's such a thing as doing the best we can every day and accepting that that's what we can do this day. And it's going to look different for every single one of us. It's not going to be the same because we're each one of us unique manifestations of a human being. And so we have unique talents, we have unique perspectives, and certainly unique experience of life. So we can share, but ultimately we each have to do our own life. And it's different from every other life. And self-acceptance is huge. It's really huge. Because we can't get to the big self within our being without loving the smallest self. How may we serve further? Anything, guys? Mm. Well, we can have a nice long meditation if we start now. If nobody has any questions, we'll just move into meditation. Anything? Okay, let's sit. Thank you so much for being here today. It's been a beautiful time together. I've really enjoyed it. Mm. Everybody stay well. See you next week.